Hey guys, it's us. We are back. Life has been pretty busy lately, but we are back working on the Chevette, and the goal for the next few weeks is to just get this guy ready to go for lemons.
So today we're going to try and pull the upper control arms up front. So basically, the reason why we need to do that is right now it sits with about like the camber adjustment that it has from the factory is maxed out, and it's basically 0 degrees of camber. We need more for road racing because all it was doing last time we raced was wearing the outside 1.5 inches of our 9-inch wide tires. So what I'm gonna do once we have them off is we're going to either make new ones or modify them so that we can get more camber adjustment in them. And we also have poly bushings to put in them when they go back on the car. So that should help a lot too, because last time we raced it was on 30-year-old rubber bait bushings that were rotted to hell. Okay, so we've got a torch on this tube that the bolt goes through, and we're just trying to heat up the outside. We've been spraying a bunch of anti-seize kind of aerosol stuff. What is this stuff? Wrench ease. So we're just trying to heat up this outer tube and make it so it kind of breaks free from the bolt a little bit. So we've been using that, and we're just torching it. We got the end here of this bolt cut off because where is the piece? So it's still hot. It's not nice to hold on to. What we're doing here, we're taking the control arm off, and it's a really big pain because this thing's been sitting and rusting for about 30 years probably. The bushing, actually the metal centerpiece of the bushing rusted itself to the bolt, so we had to actually just cut the bolt and burn the bushing out of it. So now that we have that, we got the bolt so that it would spin through this tube on the upper part of the control arm, and so now I believe it might not spin now that it cooled off a little bit. Oh yeah, no, it still spins. So the bolt's now kind of free moving enough that we can actually hopefully get it out of the subframe, and then we can actually pull the whole control arm off.
Yay!
Success!
We got it!
Well, that took forever. But hey, it's not about the journey, it's about the destination, or something like that.
Shut up.
So after about 2 hours of work, we finally got one of these off. So I got the air compressor running right now. We're going to sandblast and clean it up so that it's easier to work with. And then that's about where we're going to end for today. Hey guys, so I am here working on the Chevette again today. So what we're going to do, got a couple goals. One is to get this new alternator mounted. We're going from the stock Volvo alternator, which is too big to sit in the engine bay now with how the engine sits, to this guy. This is off of an RX-7, and it's really tiny, and it'll give us plenty of clearance. And then the other thing I'm going to try and take care of is we're going to hopefully get the turbo mounted and all of the charge piping done today. We're not going to use this intercooler anymore, this guy. We're just going to go back to the one I had in it before, just because everything will line up a lot easier then. If we have time before lemons, we'll try and put this one on, but I don't think we will. Just got a bunch of other stuff going on, so just really busy trying to get everything done. But yeah, let's get to it. Here's a quick size comparison between the old alternator and the new one. It is a lot smaller, and that'll help us because now that the engine's sitting straight up and down, there's not nearly as much room on this side of the engine, and there's still not enough on this side to put an alternator, a factory Volvo alternator on that side. So we're gonna have to stay on the driver's side here and there's a lot less room now. So we're just going to, it's going to sit down in here. So yeah, the alternator is going to sit down there. And how I'm going to do this is I happen to have another engine just sitting on a stand right here. And so I'm going to design and build everything out here. And then once I have it all how I like it, I'm just going to bolt it on to in the car. So it should be pretty easy and go pretty quick. First step is we're going to use these three holes. And I'm going to make a plate that can bolt to there. And then that's what we'll actually have the alternator mount to, is that plate. So that's the first step. I picked up a piece of 1/4-inch steel today, and so we'll make a little template and cut it out. Okay, so I just used a little grease technique that we kind of showed in another video to get where the holes are on a little piece of paper, and then I just kind of cut that out to how I wanted it to go. And then we're going to trace this onto this piece of steel plate and cut it out, and then drill our holes, and then our mounting plate should be good. Got this piece cut out kind of sloppily. I don't really care right now. I might clean it up after the fact a little bit more, but now it's marked to drill some holes, so we're gonna go ahead and do that and try and get this plate bolted to the engine here as soon as we can. Alright, so we got the holes drilled in this, and it's bolted to the engine over here. And then the next thing is I took a piece of steel and put a hole in the center of it, and got both ends flat. And what this does is it will sit right in here on the alternator, so that when you have this bolt going through it and you tighten it down, it's got something to squeeze against. And so that's going to go like that. And then what we're going to do is this piece right here, we are going to weld. Okay, so this piece right here, I'm going to weld to this plate with a little bit of a standoff. I haven't figured that part out quite yet, but we'll get to that in a second. But so that'll have a little bit of standoff to hold the alternator just a little bit. So that'll have a standoff that'll hold the alternator just a little bit away from the plate, just like out here a little ways. And then we'll weld that to the plate so that the alternator lines up with those two pulleys, and then we should be pretty good. So here's my plan. I made a little just template out of some paper, just traced out the circle from this onto there, and then I drew those on this piece of steel. So I'm going to go ahead and cut those two out, and that's what's going to be my little standoffs to hold the alternator away from the plate by a little bit. Okay, so I have these two pieces cut out, and then I welded them together, just tack welded them together. And then I ground them so they're both the same on the shape, so that the this tube thing that I made sits straight on both of them. So they both sit just like that. And so when they're seated up against this tube, they're both flat on this side and they both line up right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get one tacked to this piece and then figure out exactly where the other one needs to go, because I know one basically needs to go almost all the way on the end, and then the other one will have to sit a little bit in a different spot, because for this alternator to sit over, for the alternator to sit far enough forward, this piece has to sit offset a little bit. It's going to be sitting forward of the edge of this plate by a little bit. So the second leg, I guess you'd call it, is gonna, if I made it all the way out to the end of the of that little tube, it would be hanging off. So I got to make it inboard a little bit, and I got to figure out exactly how far it actually has to be, and we'll go from there. Okay guys, so I got to a stopping point tonight. The welder was acting up, and so I got things tacked together, but it was having serious problems. I tried replacing the liner in it to see if, and that's just earlier today, hoping that would fix it. It didn't. It's just I'm getting tons of porosity in the weld, so I'm gonna try getting a new spool of wire. I ran out of wire anyways, but I think it might have been just bad wire. So we'll try that, but what I'm gonna do actually first to just get this piece finished is tomorrow I'm going to work on the Honda Civic roll cage that I've been doing for the last couple weeks. Been working on it. So I'm gonna just finish this there with that with the welder we have there, and that should be the only thing I really need to weld on this car, other than the exhaust. But so that'll get me to the point where I'm pretty well set. And then when it's time to do the exhaust, hopefully I've got everything set pretty well with the welder so I can actually use it again. I went ahead and bolted it in just to see what it would look like. So it's the whole bracket is just tacked together right now, so can't really do anything, can't actually use it yet. I need to fully weld it. But then for the actual tensioning of it, so it pivots here, gets tight, and then what I'm going to use to actually hold it tight is I'm going to make a new plate like this, and that'll reach up to this bolt right here. And so that will be the tensioning, or what will actually hold the alternator still. And then I think we should be good.
All right, guys, so another thing we're doing to the Chevette today is putting the intercooler on again, which was temporarily borrowed by the Mustang. So the Mustang is going to be out of commission for a little bit, but we have to take off these custom flanges that we made and put the stock one back on because that's the one that fits with the Chevette. So that is the next thing we're going to be doing. All right, here's this lovely Subaru intercooler piece, and we're just going to RTV this on and get this guy back in the car. All right, guys, check it out. We got intercooler back in the car. So this is our radiator tubing that we are using, and Hank cut a little hole here in the frame on each side, and we are just going to pretty much cut this up and put it together from the turbo to the intercooler. Yeah. Alright, so we just got back from AutoZone. We have some exhaust piping, and we cut our little radiator hose pieces. So all we gotta do is just put some of this exhaust tubing in between to connect these together and hose clamp them down, and that should be pretty good for who it's for. Hey guys, back at the shop today, and we have exactly 30 days until Lemons, and there's so much to do on this Chevette, so we have a lot to get done today. So a couple of things we're going to do today. First of all, we have a new radiator fan because all the wiring got pulled out of the old one, so we got to put that on today. And also I'm going to get started on trying to get the upper and lower control arms out of the rear suspension. We've already got this one out here. We still have 3 more that need to come out, so I'm going to be working on that today too. This is just a Torque Flow universal radiator fan that we get from AutoZone for like 50 bucks, and that seems to do the job. So luckily for me, the rear control arms are going to be a lot easier to take out than the fronts. This is an independent Miata suspension in the back here, and unlike the front suspension, it doesn't have 30 years worth of rust on it. So these should be a lot easier and faster to take out, and this is going to be a one-person job, unlike the front, which is definitely takes 2 people to get these control arms out in the front. Got our first upper control arm from the rear. We are on a roll. Should be a good day. There's one stubborn bolt stuck up in here on this lower control arm, and since Hank took all the tools to PFI, this is the hammer I have to get it out with, so send it. Tiny hammer worked, people. Trust the tiny hammer, we got it. Alrighty, there we go for the driver's side. In the rear, upper and lower control arms are out. These guys are all just hanging out, resting on a plastic trash can, so that's nice and reliable. And we're gonna go do the other side, same thing. And that actually went really smoothly, much smoother than most Chevette jobs go. Upper number 2, guys, we're almost there, we're so close. Here he is, boys and girls. We got all 4 rear control arms out. My hands are just a little bit dirty from that project, but it took a lot less time than I thought it would, so it's awesome. On this side, we're resting on a empty cardboard Ritz Crackers box, so should be fine. So now that we have the control arms off, our next project, we're putting new bushings into the lower control arms, and then we are completely replacing the upper control arms. And Hank is going to try to put some camber on the Chevette to adjust how it's wearing down the tires. So that's the next step with these control arms off now. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to leave it here for today. Thank you again for watching. Stay updated. There's going to be a lot of crazy progress on the Chevette in the next month. Lemons is the first week in June, and we'll be racing at High Plains Raceway in Colorado. So we have 30 days to get this guy running and driving, so it's going to be pretty crazy, but we're somehow going to make it work. So stay tuned. As always, check us out on Instagram at Spare Parts Racing. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you guys later.